Good morning, friends and Sangha.
Good morning.
Happy 4th of July and Sunday. Please silence your phones and mute your microphones if you are watching from home. We have a retreat coming up, Practicing with the Karma with John Orr, which will take place from July 14th through 18th. Venerable Panawati is offering a book study. The class is each Thursday at 5 p.m. The book is Learning from Buddha by Buddha Master His Holiness Dorje Shang Buddha III. If you're interested in joining, please visit the retreat page on our website and select the book study option. The Novena prayers are occurring monthly every third Thursday. Please send your confidential prayer requests for yourself or your loved ones, including pets, who are sick, suffering, misfortunate, or departed, to prayer@heartwoodrefuge.org. Fully vaccinated Sangha members are invited to Heartwood for Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday Dharma, as well as the Thursday book study. Please like, follow, and share Heartwood and Thrifty Treasures on all social media to help spread the Dharma and further Heartwood's mission. If you wish to donate to Heartwood, you can do so by visiting the Heartwood website and clicking the donate button. You can also choose Heartwood on Amazon Smile.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Good afternoon, Sangha.
Afternoon.
Happy 4th. Be careful with your fireworks. When we were together last Tuesday, we worked from the Majjhima Nikaya, Sutta 7, Simile of Cloth. And we broke down the Sutta, diagnosed it, and talked about the use of it, the employment of it as a practice tool. And at that time, I also suggested that you look at Sutta 8, which is titled Effacement, Rubbing Out of things that impede the flow of good consciousness, the flow of good practice. And so I asked you to do two things. Number one is to find the Sutta if you don't work with the Majjhima Nikaya. And also to make sure that as you sit, you notice what imperfections are in your own mind, your own stream of consciousness. Today, we're going to break that down even further, I hope, and make it even more employable for you to bring about the insight of the two suggestions, the two suttas of practice. The first is that this is a practice. This is a practice that is full-time, meaning that it's not just when we get together on Sunday or Thursday or Tuesday, but it is about every time we notice through our mindfulness that there is a hindrance to cultivation or a problem with our thinking that causes us to respond or react inappropriately. That causes us to employ one of the hindrances to solve our problem. So we want to sit and watch the mind, be mindful that, number one, are there any hindrances, any blemishes of consciousness that are coming up within ourselves? That's number one. And then number two, what tool do we use to use this experience as a practice tool for eliminating our blemishes, our issues that cause us to go the wrong way, that causes us to make the wrong choices, respond the wrong way with the people around us or with the experience around us. So the first thing to ask ourselves is, do I practice when there's an opportunity to practice? Do I observe my stream of consciousness, my thinking, and do I then pick out the blemishes in consciousness, the hindrances to my peace and happiness and the peace and happiness of those around me? Do I look at those things and see the presence of those things and then work to eliminate them by replacing them with something that's more positive, to cultivate a better stream of consciousness, a better thought process? Do I work it? And I've also got to sit with myself and ask myself, why don't I if I find that I don't? We would not expect to get better at anything if we didn't practice it when we found out that our potential for using it was weak. We wouldn't expect to make much progress without personal study and and consistent replacement of the wrong way to cultivate, or the letting presence of what we would call a hindrance or wrong view. Why is it that why do we not use that moment to practice, as opposed to using that moment to be angry or to be upset or to be judgmental or whatever whatever method that we don't employ, that we know that would be correct for us, that would be helpful for us to do. Why don't we use it? Why don't we, right then and there, use the antidote to our wrong action, our wrong cultivation, so that we will be more successful at allowing the right choices to flow through our consciousness without us interfering, but just being the observer. So, I hope by now all of you who have been working with this stream of practice know what arises that you want to get rid of, you want to eliminate, so that you won't find yourself responding in an appropriate way again, that we use it to make ourselves even more and more an instrument of right cultivation. So, in the Sutta on the effacement, as I said to you last Tuesday, it gives us a further breakdown of the blemishes in consciousness and what we should do, or what we should use as a process with which to change our minds. Now, as an example, the Buddha was talking to one of the monks, and he says, a person given to cruelty has non-cruelty by which to avoid it. So our practice would then require that we first of all see within our conscious stream what blemishes, what problems to our progress, to our peace and happiness we still hold and contain within consciousness, that we should be working with to practice the elimination of this particular wrong view or wrong action, or the thing that impedes our progress to peace and happiness and wisdom or insight. So again, looking at chapter or Sutta 8, and he says, when a person is given to cruelty, you have non-cruelty by which to avoid it. Now, when do you employ this, do you think? When do you employ non-cruelty? It is as soon as you observe within your stream of consciousness, within your thought pattern, that you are thinking about wishing this person some type of harm, that you immediately ask for forgiveness, ask the person to forgive you, to tell the person that you're sorry, and to wish this person or this experience, that you wish it to be the way that you feel is more correct. And all of these adjustments are the use of practice to insert the antithesis or the opposite of cruelty, of it says, if you are inclined to kill, and remember that when we talk about killing, it's not just about taking another life, whether it be animal form or human form, but it's about killing the spirit. You know, when you see that what you've said or done has in some way just taken all of the energy or the life force out of a person, that you don't go away gleeful, acting as though you've won the conflict at the moment, that you have succeeded in one-upmanship on a person. But it requires that we use non-cruelty as the antidote to our blemish, our harmfulness, our wrong action, our wrong view. And that we replace this non-cruelty, we replace this cruelty with non-cruelty. And these are the responses that we can do with ourselves or with others, depending upon where the energy was directed. So we say, I am sorry, we ask forgiveness. All of these are practices of replacing our wrong action with right action, replacing our wrong action with a process of avoiding it, or a way to avoid it. So it says, put the other action into play, and eventually, when we continue to do that, we will see that, we will understand, and we will automatically or without thinking have that in place as an option to use when we are in relationship with another or with a group or with ourselves, because we can hurt and wound ourselves just as readily as we harm and hurt others without cruelty. So if we practice consistently before an actual experience occurs that we need to present with non-cruelty, we will find that we will have the habitual tendency to act from a space of non-cruelty more often. In other words, an example would be, we all know that in any sport that we endeavor to be better at, or to get more successful in, we don't wait until the game day, we don't wait until the tournament starts in order to practice that. What we practice every day, doing things in a way that we have been taught, or that we believe is the right way to do it, so that on game day we don't have to think about what we want to say or what we want to do. We just automatically respond that way because that's the way we practiced. So we want to encourage ourselves to be conscious, to be aware when the experiences occur that give us an opportunity to practice from a very positive and correct relationship with the experience, that we, at that moment, in that day, in that time, in that experience, we ask ourselves, did we do the right thing? Did we say the right thing? How did we engage in our relationship with the other in a way that's appropriate, a way that's loving, compassionate, so that there will come a time when we won't in any way, or we won't in any way act in a harmful manner with the other person, but that we almost automatically, without thinking, just issue forth the correct way to say, and the correct way to do, and the correct way to be with the other, so that we will always offer up the appropriate response without having to apologize at all, without having to change, without having to without having to allow or to wound or to usher forth discord in the relationship with the other. So if we can remember to start out with just practicing every day the antidote to our blemish, which means that the first thing I have to do is to find the blemish, to know what the blemish is, so that when I'm by myself and it flows up within me, against me, or for me, that I notice that my responses are inappropriate or harmful, that right then and there, in the room by myself, while I am conscious of it, while I'm aware of it, I begin the process of correcting it by replacing it with appropriate thought and with appropriate speech. In other words, not waiting for someone to be around me, or not waiting for the person that I might have thought about in a harsh manner to be there, but that I immediately ask for forgiveness, to tell them I apologize for doing that, saying that, and that I appreciate their forgiveness of my actions or my words, and I will try to not use them or say them again. This is how we avoid inappropriate behavior when we cultivate right action or right speech. It tells us that no matter what it is that we have a blemish of, no matter what it is that we have a problem with as far as wrong action is concerned, there is an antidote. So, cruelty, non-cruelty, killing, abstention from killing. Malicious speech, abstention. Harsh speech, abstention from harsh speech. Gossip, abstention from gossip. Covetousness has uncovetousness as a way to avoid it. It gives us the practice, the appropriate practice to use. And what we're saying, or what the sutras are teaching us, is that in time we will cultivate the habit of using the action that we've practiced, so that it will just automatically appropriate itself and come out in a way that we have done the best thing to do in that particular moment, that we don't have to apologize because there's nothing to apologize for, that we've done our best, we said it, we've avoided the blemish, and we have acted correctly. So the first thing to ask ourselves is, do I know what I want to cultivate? Do I know what my inappropriate thought, speech, or action comes up within me? For instance, do I find myself getting angry because of this or that? Do I find that I contain within myself an anger and I stew in it? I don't try to amend it, change it, present a different energy with the experience, but I just hate it. I don't like it. I want it to be the way I want it to be. So we have to ask ourselves right then and there, why am I nurturing, why am I holding on to this inappropriate way of thinking about a thing? And it doesn't matter what the thing is, because it's all about me and whether I am cruel or compassionate. It has nothing to do with why am I cruel? It has to do with, am I cruel? And when I see that intention, when I see that inclination of mine, it's for me to work right then and there on a different way of relationship with the moment, a way that produces a cultivation that is more appropriate to the path that I say I want to walk. So if I am replacing, if I am avoiding and replacing, if I am abandoning, the point is I've got to be able to see myself doing something that doesn't accept or doesn't allow my cruelty to be appropriate in the moment. That no matter what it is, no matter what happens, that I don't allow my cruelty to be what I think is the appropriate response, and that I immediately correct it, do a self-correction by expressing it, re-expressing it in a way that doesn't have cruelty or other inappropriate actions, whether it be speech or thought. So that I can establish the habit, the pattern of right cultivation, and therefore always be inclined to pull into my consciousness, my reality, the appropriate or the right way to relate with others on any given day about any given subject. That I don't have something or that I don't have an excuse or an acceptance of something being incorrect but appropriate in the moment. That I don't allow myself to give myself permission to do anything that is a response to a situation outside of the appropriateness of my practice. That I make sure that I don't do that. So the first question is, does everyone have in their minds the blemishes that they know they should avoid or eliminate? Or okay, that's the first thing. Is there anyone who doesn't have the knowledge of what is inappropriate within themselves? And so, is anyone going to be, first of all, is everyone perfect? Okay, so you have it, right? You have the problem. You know that you've got something present within your consciousness that you would like to reshape, that you'd like to do differently. And again, usually those expressions of doing or saying or thinking have been present with us forever. Why isn't it that we cannot get better at being better at that? The question is because we always wait and we don't practice it. We don't practice being better. We allow the experience to be what it is, and we don't change it. And we wait until the next time it comes around to try to change it while we're in the middle of it, while we're in the throes of it. We will never, most of us ordinary people will never get better by waiting until the next time it happens to get better at it. Because we find ourselves again in the thick of the fire and the thick of the emotions. And we'll say, well, after this is over, I'll do better next time. The process suggests to us that we do better this time, so that the next time we will definitely do better at reaching our goal of right speech, or reaching our goal of right thought, or reaching our goal of the proper way to have a relationship with others. And with others includes all forms of consciousness. Doesn't have to be necessarily humanoid. Can be an animal. Do I kill animals? Do I hunt animals? Do I fish? There are people who say, I fish, but I throw it back. Well, how would you like people to hook you and then take the hook out and say, okay, I'm going to throw you back into the pile, and just remember I didn't take you home and put you in my refrigerator, so you should be okay about that. Okay, so is there anyone who needs time to find out what it is that they should be working on? Does everyone know what they should be working on, or what they want to work on? Yes? Is there anyone who doesn't know what they want to be working on right now? Okay. Then, are there any questions about anything that I was rambling about? Yes?
This is very, very beneficial for me. I live with an alcoholic who struggles to stay sober, but fails from time to time, and this has been very beneficial to not for me to, when you said don't wait until the next instant, the next occurrence, but you've got to have practice beforehand. That is super advice for me.
Okay. Thank you for being trusting with us to share that information. Now, so let's just work with that, if you don't mind. That's not too personal. So we see ourselves acting a certain way in a certain situation at a certain time. And of course the first question is, well, why do you expect me to be different than this? You know, why? This is a harmful event, not only for myself, but for others also. How am I supposed to see this any differently than it is? In my opinion, what we can do, one of the ways that we can work our way out of it, is to see the fact that it's not as bad as, or it's not all bad. That I can look at you and say, you've done it again. Whatever that thing is that is being done. You've done it again, I'm disappointed, yada, 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 yada. Or I can take that same moment and say, well, you know, it's been 3 weeks since you did it the last time. In other words, we acknowledge the duality of all things, and we can see in it, we can pick out of it what we want to. I can pick out the fact that you fell or misstepped again, or I can pick out something good about what we have in this moment. I can make a choice to find something that I can speak kindly on. I can be positive about. I can pick on that and get angry about it, or I can pick out something else within the same event that I can say you did a great job on, whether it's just the dinner that we had the night before. So right away that changes the tone, and that changes the seed that I planted, so that the harvest, the next moment, will be different. It might not be better in the sense that this action is still there, still looming in front of us. But the fact that I decided to choose something that I could compliment you on, as opposed to something that I can criticize you on, I have elected to put a different seed in the ground that will change the whole energy of the moment, which then will allow us to have different conversations about the rest of that moment. That it won't be tainted with this dark energy, but it will be colored with, illuminated by an energy that is much lighter in its feel and its its intention. You know, in other words, when we talk about intention, or when I talk about intention, when I don't snap at the first thing that comes up, but I take the time to think about it and say, what's good in this relationship? What's good in this moment that I can talk about, instead of choosing to say that you've got on a brown shoe and a black shoe? Then I make a choice, and that choice to make a different choice about the way I would have ordinarily responded to the way I choose to respond today, because I am not only watching you, but I'm also watching me. And that energizes the moment in a whole different precept. It flavors, you know what I mean? It gives it a different flavor. It makes the person feel better, because they know within themselves that in the past you would have blasted me for doing what it is that happened in this moment. You would have been upset, disappointed with me, but you chose not to, which means that you are starting to consider, you've started to give some different evaluation of the relationship that we have, you have watched me do better, and you've acknowledged that, as opposed to reminding me that I keep doing the same thing, I keep falling over. That you made a decision to see something good about me. And I'm expecting you to berate me, and you choose not to. You choose to love me. You choose to say it's okay and it'll get better. And all of that makes a big difference in the relationship between the two people and the rest of the moment that surrounds them. You can see that possibility? Okay. It's easy to criticize. It's easy to say you did it again and you'll never be any good. I mean, we heard that as kids. You'll never amount to anything. You'll never be any good. Why can't you be like Billy down the street? You know? But we all also appreciate, well, we can do it a different way too, or another way. When I choose to overlook your fault, and the first thing is that I've chosen to call it a fault, but I've chosen to overlook it. I've chosen to overlook the fact that you slipped today. I don't think there's anyone in here who doesn't appreciate life's giving them a second chance, and a third chance, and a fourth chance. We can always look at ourselves and say, well, I'm not perfect either. And how I felt when someone gave me that second opportunity to prove myself, to work with the group, to stay with the family. Okay? So I can always remind myself that I want a second chance, and how I feel positive when I get that second chance, so that I will not withhold it from you because I'm not perfect either. So we can spin it in a positive way in all different ways. But we've got to remember, first of all, to stop the judgmental attitudes about a thing and work from the heart. What would I like somebody to do if I were in their shoes and they were in my shoes? To understand, to forgive, to give me a second chance, a third chance, a fourth chance. To appreciate to think about what it is that I would want from another and then give it to another. Okay? I appreciate you, Don, and I know you're working hard. You know, you worked hard from the time I first met you. When the hummingbirds off, they love you.
They need service. But what I'm taking away from this, at the moment, there's no communication with the person this person who has fallen. But what I've learned today is that as I observe my rage building, then it now will become obvious to me, I have not practiced enough. I have not practiced for this moment enough because the rage is building.
Okay,
If I have practiced,
so what do you do right now? I mean, what do you do when you become aware that you are feeling a rage build up inside of you? What do you do? Well, I mean, I know what you have done. I know what you have done, but I'm saying now, with the backdrop that we have now, with the work that we're doing right now with each other and helping each other understand some things, what would you do this time? When you feel the slow heat, the burn, the rage come up about the person who's screwing up again?
First of all, forgive myself,
Okay.
and then not allow the rage to explode,
Okay. All right.
and find something good.
So you're gonna find something good, you're gonna find some reason to be loving in that moment, right? And sharing that energy with them as opposed to sharing the rage with them. You abandon it and replace it. Oh, there's that rage again. No. Spank its butt. And do something different. Wise men tell us that there's nothing, well, why is it that we expect something different to happen when we do the same thing? You know, and I'm not talking about the other person, I'm talking about us, me. How can I expect it to be different when I'm doing the same thing I did the last time? Panyawati?
So this is a very good lesson today. And I wanted to spend this whole year doing, the 50 weeks of transformation, because study seeks to find out why, why am I doing this, or why, but the question is not why am I, it's am I?
Mm-hmm.
And that's what you brought up today.
Mm-hmm.
So if I take the why off and just ask, am I in this moment doing this?
Mm-hmm.
And the answer is yes, and that's not what I want to do or how I want to be, then right then it allows for action. Why almost becomes an excuse to not have to go against my discomfort right now.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm trying to understand it, I'm trying to, but am I doing this? Yes, right now.
Mm-hmm.
And what it does do, though, is it brings up, for the one who truly has as an endeavor a different mind and heart, it brings up a kind of remorse.
Mm-hmm.
And if we take the time to be in that remorse, to really feel it, to really experience the remorse, we will remember it. Like I have remorse right now because I asked somebody not to park in my parking space. And I have it not because I asked whoever it was not to park there, but because I felt some irritation about it. You see, so I was serious about not parking there, but I'm just saying I felt irritation, and my practice for me is, to not be irritated with things, or to, accept what I take as a slight or disrespect or forgetting or whatever, like what does it matter? And that brought it down around the minutest little thing today, and yet we want to tackle these big things, and it's all these little foxes that spoil the vine. So that's and to really face it and acknowledge it. It's terrible when you think somebody hit you with a bat and then you got upset with them and you go and apologize for being upset when they hit you, but if you have that great of a aspiration, it can help you to even acknowledge a small fault and change in that moment, not later, right then. So thank you for today.
Thank you. Yeah. Anyone else? Yes, Brian.
Thank you for your comment about taking it from the heart. And we all have different situations. I was in a situation where I had a wife who had events that caused problems that recur over and over and over again. And so there was a lot of rage at first. It's why I ended up getting into Buddhism back in the early 90s. And then I recognized it was staged process. I first got to where rage went to anger, and then I got to indifference, and then finally I got to compassion. And it wasn't when in the moment, right? That it was when we were not in that moment that I could move toward indifference, then move toward, not in that moment, compassion. So when those moments occurred again, rage wasn't my default situation. Compassion was my default situation. And so
Boy, that's a goal.
it's, as you say, I couldn't do it in the moment, but those moments made me work. And that work got me to finally get to compassion for those moments. Didn't solve her problem, but it probably saved me.
Thank you. Thank you very, very much.
Yeah. Yes.
I appreciate hearing what Don said and what Brian said and what you said and what Panawati said, because the culmination of all four of those things are smack in the middle of my greatest obstacle and defilement, which is where it's that little fox. I can handle the big, ugly monsters of this universe with mostly a nice balance of equanimity. And then there's that smack of delusion of ego that hasn't been eradicated on some small slight that I would take towards myself. And what you said to Dawn about recognize maybe it's been 3 weeks since you fell on the path and skinned your knee. And then to hear Panawati say it's those little foxes where you still kind of whack yourself for going, that shouldn't have bothered me. And your comment on compassion and what you said, it's all right where I'm at, because I'll be like fully equanimous and doing really well, and then there's this small crap thing that'll trip me up only about me. It's a self-flagellation that I realize there's this delusion that I'm kind of living in this nice balanced state. And that's where I feel like my whole practice needs to come to center, which goes back to the effacement of the cloth without rubbing out in one spot so much that you rip a hole in the cloth, but the rest of the cloth is still sitting there that needs to be attended to. So I thank all of you for that, because that's right where I need to toe the line in my practice.
Okay. And I hear you, and wait until Monday morning. We'll see. The point is, it never gets better by itself. It gets better because we get better. So, remember the pain that we feel, the discomfort that we feel, the irritation that we feel, is all about us. It's because we have deemed it so. We have ruled it to be so. And the benevolence and the kindness of this walk that we're doing is all about one thing, is to remember that what's happening is all in our mind, except that. And all I have to do is change my mind and it gets better. I have to remind myself to remember to employ the same kindnesses for me as I do for everyone else. And when I remind myself of that, then I become empowered, because I realize that it's the only all it takes is a change in my own attitude that then makes it better for me. And because I've made it better for me, I realize that what I felt, that discomfort that I felt, has nothing to do with anybody else. that it is my thing that I put on me. Not that someone else put on me, but I put on me after I listened to someone else talk about their own point of view. You know, my woundedness, my discomfort has come about because of what I think about you telling me about me. And there's going to be a time where I think this whole thing about insight and wisdom and enlightenment and all of that has to do with the recognition of that. That all of my discomfort is created by my own mind thinking about me. And when I stop that foolishness, the sun shines, and you can see forever. So, anyone else? Do we have any people up? Are we on Zoom or?
We're just streaming to YouTube today, so we
Facebook?
don't have anybody on.
Okay, all right. Well then, fantastic. Anuwadi, would you like to say anything else before we close?
Yeah, if I had known we were on, we were streaming, I just told everybody I got upset about a parking space. Yeah. Yeah, keep it real.
Thank you, my friend.
Thank you.
May all be liberated from suffering. May we be well, may we be happy, may we be peaceful. Thank you so much and have a safe holiday. And we'll see you soon.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
I did. And I need to be better attention to what on birthday posts. Because apparently I